and thank you for joining us here on Halton News. It's Tuesday, June 30th, and I'm Jessica Kading. Since our update on Friday, there are 4 additional active cases of COVID-19 to report in the Halton region. This increase in cases has been concentrated in Milton and Halton Hills, so the new breakdown of cases by municipality is as follows. There are currently 11 active cases in Burlington, 15 in Oakville, 24 in Milton, and only 6 in Halton Hills. While these numbers are looking good here locally, there have been some outbreaks lately in other parts of our country. For example, in Kingston, where hundreds are now being tested as a result of an outbreak at a nail salon that led to at least 25 positive cases so far. In response to the recent uptick in cases, the medical officer for health in Kingston has mandated that masks or face coverings must be worn in any indoor public venue in Kingston. I have Steve Heron from our sister station in Kingston joining me now to see how this new order is being received. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Glad to be here.
Now, I want our viewers to know that Kingston has actually had very few cases. In fact, you've gone weeks with 0 active cases at all. Is that right?
That is correct. We have had essentially, once the curve flattened here about a month ago, I think at one point we had 62 cases, 62 resolved, none of them resolved by a death. And the other thing that we have not had here is any outbreak in a long-term care home.
Now tell me about this most recent situation.
Well, it was interesting. On Friday, I'd heard that there was 1 new case. That's all I'd heard. And I biked into work, and then my bike route takes me past the Memorial Center, and I saw people lined up all the way down to the sidewalk, down the street, around the corner, and I'm going, what? Is this because 1 new case has been discovered? Are people panicking? And then, of course, I found out that it wasn't a case, it was an outbreak at a nail salon. And in a way, I think we've been treated, I don't want to say treated here, but we've been lucky because we've had, again, almost no cases. And I don't think it's a case, though, of people getting complacent. I think it's a case of it was bound to happen. And again, our health unit is partly responsible because they were on top of this right away. As soon as the 1 case showed up, they started contact tracing. They figured out exactly where the epicenter of it was, and they acted very, very quickly. So we're lucky that we have a really good health unit here.
And now, of course, there's a new order in place that everyone must wear masks when in an indoor public venue. How is that being received?
From what I can see, no issue whatsoever. I was out shopping in 2 or 3 different places yesterday, and I saw everybody wearing masks, and I didn't see anybody flouting it. I didn't see anybody who didn't seem to be accepting of it, didn't seem to be comfortable with it. Everybody was complying, and that's typical of Kingston.
Well, hopefully things get back under control there. I want to thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Steve. And to bring this back locally now, I actually have Mayor Marianne Mead Ward of Burlington joining us to find out whether Burlington would consider a mandatory mask policy should our cases increase. Marianne?
So the city of Burlington actually cannot issue a mandatory mask order on private property. We can do it for our own facilities, and effective July 2nd, so 2 days from now, we will be requiring masks on public transit. Our city facilities are closed, but we are looking at whether when we reopen to require masks. But only the medical officer of health of a public health unit can mandate masks, and that would be our medical officer of health at Halton region. And then it would be region-wide. So our medical officer of health has chosen not to issue a mandatory mask order, and instead asking people when they are in enclosed areas and they can't keep their distance, which has been the advice from the beginning, they should wear a mask, but not mandating it in every business. I know the situation in Kingston is a little different. It was inside of a nail salon. 19 people were, at last count, were infected with COVID-19. People have to remember as well that for services such as that, there are colleges and other authority bodies that give instructions for what needs to take place. I was just talking to somebody who was in physical therapy, and they are required to wear masks by their college. So there are other authorities that can issue masks for mandatory mask orders for very specific situations where it's really when close contact is there. Your best defense, always, is to stay 6 feet away from somebody you don't live with or someone who is outside of your closed social circle.
Yes, thank you for that. And we were just reviewing the COVID-19 numbers actually across Halton, and Burlington as of today is at only 11 active cases. So the trend does seem to be going downward. I know that in many of the places that have opened up, there's policies in place to keep those distances. For example, Lowville Park opened up today, but the number of people are limited so that you can maintain that social distance.
Absolutely. So we reopened the park parking lot. The park was okay for walk-through access, but really because of its location, unless you lived in the immediate area, that effectively meant only people within the immediate area who could walk to it could use it. So we opened the parking lot today, but at 50% capacity, because we want to make sure we can manage the numbers of people that will come to the park and ensure that there's enough room, physical room in the park for people to maintain that 6-foot separation. And what we know about that park is that people will often arrive in large carloads, bus loads, even pre-COVID, when you could gather more than 10 people. And so what we're talking about at some point when we open the parking lot to full capacity, we're still going to have to manage the crowds. And some of the behaviors that we've seen of illegal parking along Guelph Line, very dangerous. It's a blind corner there, and some other things that we've seen. So we are partnering, looking to partner. It's a recommendation at this point from my office to committee. So council will make the decision next week and have the discussion about whether to partner with Conservation Halton to have them do a reservation system. They've already done it with their own park, so we would simply use their technology to reserve your space in the park. Then when you're coming, we know a lot of people come from Lowville, from well outside Burlington. So if you've driven all that way, you want to make sure that your reserved space is there for you and you can enjoy the park. So it's a pilot project. It's proposed as a pilot project, free to the residents. We won't be charging a fee to gain access, and we'll see how it goes. But I do know that other municipalities, Toronto among them, have gotten wind of this innovative technology and are using it for their pools and some other things. So hopefully we're going to give it a try. Depends what committee and council do next week.
That's great. Well, I'm sure you'll keep us posted.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining with us here today.
Thanks, Jessica.
Halton police are actively searching for those responsible for graffiti spray painted at the intersection of Liptay Avenue and Colonel William Parkway in Oakville. Due to the nature of that graffiti, this is being investigated as a hate crime. Police have reason to believe it was 4 males in their late teens or early 20s that are responsible, but they are appealing to the public for assistance. If you have any information or security camera footage of that area that could help officers identify those responsible, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. The mayor of Oakville also had this to say. He released a statement that reads in part, "Our community is revolted by the racist message. I condemn this act of racism in the strongest possible terms. I apologize on behalf of our community to the families who were made to feel unsafe or unwelcome in their own community. Town Council and Oakville residents and I stand with our Black community for the inclusive, diverse, and equitable community that we're all working for." He goes on to call on all residents to be vigilant and report any acts of racism seen in our community. We were also able to speak with Mayor Rob Burton in person today as he joined with the Oakville BIAs and the Oakville Chamber of Commerce to officially invite residents back to shopping locally.
Today, we're welcoming the world back to Oakville. Very grateful that we still have good numbers in the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we're very optimistic about going to stage 3 in a week or so. But for now, we've got takeout and dine-in on patios, but not inside the buildings.
In the last few years, independent shops have been hit hard trying to compete with online shopping outlets like Amazon. Last year, Digital Main Street was created, an initiative helping Oakville shops to enter the world of online sales. But Amazon was only the first of many hurdles.
Somebody said to me, gee, it's a shame that the COVID pandemic kind of created a double whammy on top of the construction. And I had to say, no, actually it's a triple whammy, because the first thing that happened was the Amazonification of retail business, and that really hurt. And then we undertook the complete rebuild and redesign of the downtown shopping experience to fight the Amazonification. And the construction is a bit of a whammy, but it's a short one. And then we had COVID on top of that, so that's the triple whammy. But by far the more sustaining and worrying one is the Amazonification of retail. And that's why you need to come down, experience these shops, and see what they have that Amazon doesn't. They have the personal touch. This is the shopping street where they know your name, if you'll only let them.
Reporting for Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.
A local Conservative MP has some concerns over an announcement made by our Prime Minister regarding funding for a new student volunteer program. Last week, Justin Trudeau announced just over $900 million towards the Canada Student Service Grant to be administered through the We Charity. The We Charity is an international development charity and youth empowerment movement that was founded back in 1995 in Toronto. Wellington Halton Hills MP Michael Chong and the Conservative Party are asking that this volunteer program be brought under government oversight rather than that of a private company.
Look, this money has not yet gone out the door. This is just an announcement at this point. And so we're saying to the government, look, there's an appearance of a conflict of interest here. Both the Prime Minister and his wife have participated in this charity's events over the years. It smacks of cronyism. Both the Prime Minister and his wife have been closely affiliated with this charity, and it just seems to me to be an appearance of a conflict of interest. Secondly, there is concerns about paying people for volunteer work at a rate of $10 an hour. Concerns that this isn't really volunteerism if people are getting paid for it. And secondly, if they are getting paid for it, then this program does not seem to abide by minimum wage standards in this country. And third, it's a tremendous amount of money to go out the door, close to $1 billion, without ongoing parliamentary oversight. It's a $1 billion grant, essentially, to a private organization. And that, I think, is something that warrants a lot more scrutiny than, let's say, a grant of $1 million that would go to a private organization. We've been calling on the government to release the details of the contract, which they have not yet done. And we've also called on the government to reveal publicly how much this charity is going to get paid for administering this program.
Earlier today, the Prime Minister defended his decision to have the We Charity administer these funds by saying, quote, "The We organization is the only organization in Canada that has the scale and the ability to deliver volunteer opportunities for young people right across the country at all levels of organizations." More from our Prime Minister still ahead, as he recently did a shout out to a local Milton company called Enable Education. That story up next. Stay with us. Welcome back to us here on Halton News. A Milton-based company is relieved to have taken advantage of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, enabling them to keep their staff working. Not only that, this same company felt pretty good about getting a special mention by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau himself. Melissa Candelaria reports.
Right across the country, business owners are using the wage subsidy to get back on their feet and rehire their employees. By using this benefit, employers have helped 2.6 million Canadians stay in the workplace. These are jobs that people rely on to pay their bills and to put food on the table. Jobs that matter to Canadians and to their families. Take Roamers in Vancouver and Port Moody. They used the wage subsidy to rehire over 150 employees and reopen their 3 neighborhood restaurants. Or Enable Education in Milton, who applied for the benefit and were able to keep a team of 18 people employed and busy.
You heard it. Our Prime Minister made a shout-out to Milton-based company Enable Education in his daily update on June 22nd. And as mentioned, Enable Education took advantage of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. CEO Ben Zimmer says getting this subsidy was vital for them to keep operating.
We've been in business since 2006, and we help companies to put their face-to-face training online. So for us, keeping us going wasn't so much about our rent wasn't a big factor, our cost of goods wasn't a big factor. It's really about salary for us. And when the wage subsidy was announced, it made a huge impact. I was actually, my partner and I, my wife is my co-founder, and we together, it was a very emotional moment when we realized we can keep going. Because unfortunately, several of our clients, our really key clients, had to pause us. Because we're helping them onboard new people, we're helping them do training, and they're laying people off. So training is the last thing on their minds right now. But we know they'll come back. So I can't risk losing my team. So the wage subsidy made a really big impact on us. It meant we could keep the team engaged, and in order to keep them busy, we've actually been doing social impact projects. So finding places where we can donate my team's time that will have an impact and help us to pay it forward.
Now, Milton MP Adam Van Couverden is certainly proud of Enable Education and says they are one of the many examples of local businesses who have been determined and agile throughout the crisis.
Small, medium-sized businesses are definitely the heart of the Canadian economy. The shops that we shop at, people at the farmers market. This is what really keeps Canada moving economically. And we know that we can build back better. Like we can bounce forward from this pandemic. Canada actually has a great reputation for being able to economically bounce back and bounce forward from these types of things. So I'm very confident that in the coming months, we'll see steep drops in unemployment numbers, large rises in the economy and all the economic metrics and numbers related to the drive of our economy.
So when asked what he thought about getting that shout out from the PM, Zimmer says it was pretty cool.
It was exciting. I mean, the honest truth is my mother-in-law texted my wife. She said, "You just got mentioned by Drew." So it was a pleasant surprise. Very exciting for us, and it led to a lot of people reaching out and saying nice things.
The Canada Wage Subsidy is still available for local businesses who have been affected by COVID-19, and what that means is that these businesses would be eligible for a subsidy of 75% of employee wages for up to 24 weeks. Now, that's retroactive from March 15th to August 29th. Reporting for Halton News, I'm Melissa Candelaria.
Taking a look now at our weather forecast as we look over this beautiful view of a beach in Oakville. You can see that for those of you who want to beat the heat, well, you're going to have to wait a while longer. Scorching hot temperatures are with us throughout our 5-day forecast. Very high UV indexes to watch for as well, so please do protect your skin. 27 is our high Tuesday with a mix of sun and cloud. Wednesday, we're seeing a 40% chance of showers. That is Canada Day, so perhaps bring your umbrella out if you're going to do any outdoor activities, but keep in mind that there's a greater chance that you will be able to enjoy the mix of sun or cloud. Friday is the next time we'll see a chance of rain. You don't see it here, but in the evening is when that chance comes, leading into our weekend. Saturday, full sun, not a cloud in the sky to protect you from the 30-degree heat. Taking a look now at our market watch, including a look at how some of our local companies are faring today. Canada Day will be celebrated virtually this year for the most part, but of course you can get fireworks for your own family to light off safely. We'll have details on that after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Halton News. Tonight, ahead of Canada Day, we ask, what could be more Canadian than supporting a good cause while buying fireworks to celebrate Canada Day? Nikki Wesley shares how you can do just that.
While city-sponsored Canada Day celebrations have been taken virtually this year, Hands and Hearts for Africa volunteers are still fundraising, selling their fireworks in the Burlington Centre parking lot.
Back again this year selling fireworks for a charity cause that we feel deeply about. It's called Hands and Hearts for Africa. With the COVID-19 epidemic worldwide now, Malawi is really in a desperate situation. They don't have a lot of testing, so who knows how many cases there are. But in the entire country, there are 3 ventilators. So think of Burlington has more than that, and they're a population of about 20 million people. So so we're helping out. We actually sent over some money earlier in the year just so they could get soap and buckets for water, so they could practice better hygiene.
Hands and Hearts for Africa helps support various initiatives in Malawi, including a prison fellowship ministry.
The other one is a church group called World of Grace Church, Pastor Moses, and we were involved last year getting an irrigation project set up for his community, which was very successful. For the first time in many years, they had an irrigation pump that allowed them to have 3 crops in one season, in 1 year. And that meant that they had food they didn't have to depend on the world food supply, and they actually had enough left over to sell in the market and make a little bit of money. So it was very successful that way. And the third group that we help out in Malawi is called Afrida's Kids Club, and she's a widow who actually takes in children just for the day and gives them 2 meals, a morning meal and a lunch meal, and then send home, and they do classes and they learn.
25% of each fireworks sale goes directly to Hands and Hearts for Africa.
Last year we raised over $17,500 for the charities, which was really great.
Volunteers will be selling fireworks from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the parking lot from now until Canada Day. Reporting for Halton News, I'm Nikki Wesley.
Of course, Canada Day is fast approaching, so if you do plan to light fireworks, now is the time to buy some. Remember, there will not be any large gatherings to celebrate Canada Day as we usually do due to COVID-19 restrictions. There are virtual events planned all around Halton, however, including a drive-through Ribfest in Burlington at Burlington Centre. We'll remind you of all those Canada Day details again tomorrow night on Halton News. We'll be live at 5:30. But before I sign off tonight, I also wanted to let those of you in Oakville know that the town of Oakville will begin offering day camps again starting July 13th. The strictest health measures will be in place to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19. These camps will be open to a limited number of children aged 4 to 12 on a first-come, first-served basis. To register for day camp at Glen Abbey, Iroquois Ridge, River Oaks, 16 Mile, Trafalgar Park, or QE Park, please visit camps.oakville.ca. We'll have our schedule up soon, but for those of you who'd like more content, please visit us on our website, yourtv.tv. We're also online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at yourtvhalton. We'll be back live again tomorrow night. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Kading.